Investment in commercial property has always been a niche area. It's an enormous investment category, totaling close to $10 trillion globally. Compare that to the 90 trillion value of global stock markets, and it's a significant number. So why aren't there more direct investors in the commercial property market? The unique challenges surrounding this space, including large upfront capital outlays and slow, costly transactional processes involving many intermediaries, renders this asset class lumpy and illiquid. It's usually deemed a very long-term hold, and the inherent lumpiness and illiquidity of the asset class discourages many interested investors. So how do we make investment in commercial property more accessible and grant exposure to a much wider global investor base? Meet property tokenization. Property tokenization refers to the digitization of property assets on a blockchain. Let me explain that in a bit more detail. Blockchain is the technology that underpins digital currency, like Bitcoin. The technology allows digital information to be distributed but not copied, and means that each individual piece of data can only have one owner. Digitization in general is the process of converting information into a digital format and makes it easier to preserve, access, and share information. Let me use an analogy. Think of how the way we access music has changed over time with digitalization. Years ago, we'd have to pop out to Tower Records to buy an LP, bring it home, put it on a turntable, and wait for a diamond needle to translate the grooves in the vinyl into sound. Initial digitization of music took the information created through the recording process and digitally converted it so that it could be stored on a CD. We'd still have to pop out to Tower Records, but the information had been digitized, which preserved it, made it more accessible, and more easily shared by directly recording onto another device. Further down the digitization process, we now have fully downloadable music in digital form. Think Apple Music, where music in any shape or form is easily shared on multiple devices. Digitization works. Tokenization of property, which is synonymous with digitization of property in this context, is the process of replacing fractions of an underlying asset with an algorithmically generated number called a token. Tokenization, through this fractional ownership, provides for lower capital requirements and offers more liquidity, addressing the key barriers to entry for this asset class. Securitized tokens, such as property-backed tokens, can be best described as digital blockchain-based contracts of fractions of the underlying asset. So in sum, tokenization of property is the process whereby exposure to a property portfolio is fractionalized and digitized through the issuance of tokens on a blockchain. These tokens are a form of cryptocurrency, but with a marked difference. Their value can be determined directly from the value of their underlying property asset. The underlying asset may give general exposure or something more specific. It might be tokens issued on an existing diversified property portfolio, or on a more defined property portfolio such as B2C warehousing, or exposure may be targeted to an individual property development that could be housed in a separate special purpose vehicle. It's this fractionalization, the lowering of minimum investment amounts, allowing exposure to a much greater pool of investors, which adds liquidity to the picture. But issuing tokens on a blockchain has many other positive features. Using security tokens ensures that investors' ownership is recorded and also transferable on a blockchain ledger. Automated Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering checks allow easy and quick onboarding of qualified global investors. Transactions on a blockchain are indelible and transparent, not to mention the immediacy of trading and swift settlement. Smart contracts can be built into the issued token to allow for such aspects as automated dividend payments or to streamline many administrative processes. Smart contracts can also be written to control cap table restrictions or such things as voting rights or youth rights. All of this adds up to less potential human error in administration and more efficiencies in the process. Tokenization of property is still in its infancy, but several billion US dollars have already been tokenized globally, primarily in the US, but also in the EU and Asia. There was even a small issuance in South Africa in February this year. Issuance is one thing, enabling a larger investor base in the process of fractionalization, but to create even more liquidity, we need to create a secondary market where these property tokens can be traded. So why issue now if there's no secondary market out there? It's a classic chicken and egg. The more token issuances, the more tokens listed, the more reason to set up a secondary exchange for the sole purpose, the more liquidity, the more reason to issue more tokens. But one thing is certain, property tokenization is already disrupting the property market in 3 distinct ways. Firstly, blockchain provides a technology solution to onboard KYC and AML compliant global investors. And by doing so, secondly, it grants access to a market with traditionally high barriers to entry to this new pool of investors. And thirdly, it allows these interested and qualified investors the ability to hand-pick property-specific exposure around the world on a level playing field. It's going to be the forerunners in this space, those embracing current technology, those who are already issuing property tokens, who will be able to capitalize on this very clever use of blockchain in the property space when the tipping point comes. And it's coming. It's a complicated process, but that's what we're here for. For more information, please speak to us. Psyllus, Blockchain Enablers.